Let's see. Go after this other guitar here. I got a chance to go. It's like, been to Amsterdam and seen the Van Gogh Museum. Show of hands. Anybody been there? It's a pretty phenomenal thing. And Van Gogh is one of these strange, most artists just have all these incongruities. The more I study, the more I just realize that these moments of just sheer, beauty and great things, and I realize how screwed up the personal lives were in so many ways. And Van Gogh is no exception to the rule, but I read a book years ago. There was an exchange, a correspondence between Van Gogh and his brother, and it's called Letters to Theo. If you're familiar, I'm sure you can find it in the Borders of Barnes and Nobles. A really just great exchange between Van Gogh and his brother. Van Gogh never sold a painting in his lifetime. Never sold a painting. He kind of, somewhat rather than sort of a self-torture, I suppose, of his psyche and whatnot. But definitely a guy who preferred color outside the lines, no pun intended. You go to this museum, and it's interesting that that last painting, the one with that kind of jagged green road or path or whatever into the cornfield with these kind of ominous black crows over a cobalt blue sky, he's supposedly the last painting that he painted before his suicide. And that painting is the last one of about 350 or so, depending on how many they got out of the actual museum that are traveling. But it's pretty overwhelming. It takes a bit of time to get through it, but it's well worth a couple of 3 hours to go walking through the museum. And that painting is the last thing, and it's almost an afterthought. It's on a little wall, probably no wider than this glass hutch here. It's the way out the door. It's kind of like there's the painting, and oh, there's the street. And it's kind of interesting, and in some ways it's very appropriate. There's some interesting little things in the under the glass case there, and as you walk in, Van Gogh obviously has his spectacles and there's some gloves. And Van Gogh apparently always kept a Bible open in his studio, and he opened it to what Christians have described in Scripture as the suffering servant passage, Isaiah chapter 53. But if you actually read it, it's the last three verses of Isaiah 52, 9 through 12, and then on through 53. And Christians have embraced and loved that passage, Isaiah 53. They call it the suffering servant passage. And the reason being is because there's so many things in it that seem to hearken forth to the life of Christ, his rejection by the nation, and his attempts there are numerous references in there to the atonement, and even his death on the cross and his burial. They seem to be very historically specific, and even more astonishing because the passage was written about 850 years before Jesus was alive, about 850 BC. But that passage, that part of that Bible is actually always open in Van Gogh's studio. Van Gogh worked for the Dutch Reformed Church for a while. He actually, before he became a painter, he was kind of like a combination, like a relief worker, minister, and he worked with the poor people in Brittany, province of France, not unlike our Appalachia. And but he had this curious notion that to get inside the hearts of the poor, you had to identify with them. So he abandoned the ways of the dress, the man of the cloth, and lived among the poor. I mean, he could do this. He didn't have a family. He could get away with it. And so he dressed in rags. He lived in a shack. But somehow or another, it wasn't working for the church authorities. And I don't know enough about this. If there are any art historians out there, or people just know, fill me in. But I'm not sure if he was pushed or he quit. But he stopped working for the church. And he had never picked up a paintbrush before that. And he became an artist right after that. Which is kind of, so I mean, you see the church does do something right occasionally. Such a cheap shot. And he became the greatest sunflower painter ever, next to your daughter or son, I'm sure. The song's about all that stuff. It's called Skin.
a few times as of late. And sometimes the answer that love gives is the hardest one to take. See, I know he was prone to paint, the voice of his own fear. Vincent, he picked up the blade and he put it to his ear. Look at yourself in the mirror. You're all rumpled, red, stubbled, and gaunt. You walk a dead-end path in a dry cornfield, and now this morose response. So your princess, she don't want to see you. No, your princess, she don't want to hear. And Vincent, he picked up the blade, he put it to his ear. Now look, if you're gonna come around here and say those sort of things, you gotta take a few on the chin. You're talking about love and all that stuff, you better wear your thickest skin. And sometimes you can't please everyone, sometimes you can't please anyone at all. You sew your heart onto your sleeve, you wait for the axe to fall. And you there with the paint box, you there with paper and pen. Everybody's got some kind of instrument. Play them loud and long till the end. Yeah, you know, you come with empty hands, but you don't come at all. You deal your best hand out in the marketplace and let the chips fall. And the package, it comes wrapped up. There is a lesson here. And Vincent, he picked up the blade and he put it to his ear. Now look, if you're gonna come around here and say those sort of things, you gotta take a few on the chin. Yeah, talking about sin and redemption, you better wear your thickest skin. Sometimes you can't please everyone, sometimes you can't please anyone at all. You sew your heart through your sleeve, you wait